Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 21st ever Highlight Haven interview. My name is Matthew Heiserman, and today we are joined by a very special guest. He covers the Los Angeles Clippers for The Athletic. Let me welcome Law Murray to the show. It's great to have you on.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get right into it. I just want to start by asking when you first knew that you wanted to work in the sports industry.
Sh- That's a tough question. It's a good question. It's a good question. When I first knew, what grade are you in now?
I'm in eighth grade right now.
You're in eighth grade. Okay, so first time I ever heard of the term statistician was probably when I was in fifth or sixth grade. I want to say sixth, which feels early to me in hindsight. Like I didn't know what a statistician was. I felt like I was interested in sports and data specifically. But for what I do now, actually being a writer, actually being a journalist, I didn't think that that was something that I wanted until maybe I don't even want to say when I entered college because when I entered college, I wanted to be a commentator, but I got disillusioned with that by the end of my freshman year. Like I felt like I was going to be something different. So I had to really build and understand what I was really interested in as far as a job. So as early as sixth grade, I would say for me, but I didn't commit to okay, I really am going to do everything possible to be in sports media until I was 24 or 23 maybe before I got into grad school because when I got into grad school that was journalism school and that's when I was like all right there's no turning back. I got to make it work somehow.
Mhm. And on Monday, the Clippers took a 128 to 134 loss against the Oklahoma City Thunder. This loss bumped Los Angeles record down to 6-5. What were some of your main takeaways from this matchup?
That I pointed this out after the game. The Clippers entered that game with the top five defense statistically. They were fourth in the league in that category, and that game was so bad on that end of the floor for them that they dropped all the way down to 10th. So it's early in the season. You're going to get that kind of movement with a single game, but that's still pretty extreme. Being that it's not like it's the first week of the season either. Like teams have played. If they haven't played their 10th game, they're going to play their 10th game this week. So it was a failure on that end of the floor for them, but also it was a game where they were down 20 and fought to make it a one possession game in the closing minutes. That is really a sign of progress, being that the Clippers are a terrible matchup. They don't match up well at all with the Thunder. And so it was actually an encouraging game offensively. Outside of the turnovers, that's their biggest issue all season. They turn the ball over way too much, but when you take the turnovers away, which you can only do in basketball by not turning the ball over, but when you take the turnovers away, that's some good offense hiding in there. The fact that they are able to adjust, protect the ball well enough to actually take 18 points off of a 20-point lead in that second half. So that is something to build on. It's obviously they need to be better defensively against the Thunder. They also played their worst offensive game of their season against OKC, if I recall correctly. They scored only 92 points against them about 10 days ago. So I can already see areas where the Clippers are improving, but they were they were at their absolute worst that we've seen them defensively. Those are my main takeaways.
Yeah, and speaking of turnovers, they averaged 16.5 turnovers per game this season, which is the second most in the NBA. And in that Thunder game, they turned the ball over 23 times. As you mentioned, it's not a specific thing necessarily that they have to do to limit those turnovers. It's just overall, making smarter decisions. But I think it's safe to say that James Harden has played really well this season, at least from a statistics standpoint. He's averaged 21 points, 9 rebounds, and 8 assists through 11 games. However, his efficiency has not been quite as impressive, shooting 36% from the field and just 31% from beyond the arc. Is that something to worry about just a few weeks into the season?
It is. It is. As you pointed out, the volume is there, and he's taking on a huge responsibility. And the sacrifices that he's made efficiency wise has made other guys around him better, and they are they are together as a team, and he's that leader of that group with Kawhi not being on the floor and with multiple future Hall of Famers leaving the team this offseason. That being said, he I think that his shooting will turn around. His efficiency will get better at some point. It always has. I can't really look at a guy and say, hey, like, you're going to play you're going to struggle like this the entire year, when his career, even last year, suggests differently. So there is positive regression to look forward to there. But the turnovers are, at one point, I was thinking that the turnovers were because of who he's playing with. But when you look at some of the turnovers, that's not the case. Like, maybe it's fatigue, but that's a choice. Like, like James has to just think the game through and take better care of the basketball at certain points. Some of the turnovers are coming at the absolute worst times. The fourth quarter, live ball situations that ignite other teams' fast breaks and get other teams easy shots. That's a good way to allow 40 points in a quarter, like they did in the second quarter Monday night in Oklahoma City. So it's a concern, but the best thing James can do is play through it.
Yeah, but a player who has started extremely hot for the Clippers this season is Norman Powell. Powell currently leads the team in both points per game with 26 and three-pointers per game with 4.2. He also has four 30-plus point games so far. What has impressed you the most when it comes to his performance so far this season?
Man, Norm has just been outstanding in an elevated role, and not every player is capable of doing that. I think being a role player is way easier, um, at least in terms of the actual description of it, than being a star. And Norm is not a role player right now. He's a star right now. He is. Everyone knows that he's coming. That he's got to be the guy to be successful for the Clippers perimeter offense to be good, to be efficient, and the fact that he's been able to maintain that level of not just efficiency but volume, this deep into the start of the season, suggests that why not let him continue to cook? Like, don't put a ceiling on him. Basically, like, if he wants to be an all star, this is his chance to be a first time all star. If he can maintain what he's doing from a volume standpoint, from an efficiency standpoint, if the team continues to win, no matter who he's playing with, then that's going to be what we should expect from him then. And I think the thing with Norm is he didn't have a single basket made in the first half of Monday night's game,
Mhm.
and he wound up with 31 points, before fouling out. And, like, that means even within a game, it's like you can't look at game at halftime and say, Norm don't got it tonight. Like, next thing you know, Norm might threaten 20 points in a quarter. He's done that multiple times this season. And so that's been, I don't want to say I'm surprised, but I don't even, when you have never seen it like that, on that level, on that efficiency, I think you got to at least acknowledge that. So it's not a surprise. It's not like, oh, Norm's not capable of this. But I think you got to give credit to where credit's due in terms of a guy doing something that he said he wanted the opportunity, but now that he's getting it, he's performing like a guy who is always ready and preparing for this opportunity.
Yeah, right after that first half in the Thunder game, the Clippers scored 41 points in the third quarter. So I think you're definitely right in terms of he has really been stepping into that star role and been the leader of this team. Obviously, part of him needing to step up has to do with Kawhi Leonard not playing. Kawhi has missed the start of the season with knee inflammation. However, I do think it's safe to say that he's trending in the right direction. What would you say is a realistic timetable for his return, and what are your expectations for him once he gets back onto the court?
Realistically, and this is obviously not me reporting. There's nothing to report on with his timetable. He's week to week. It's not going to be this week. Can't see can't say next week because he hasn't really practiced. And at this point, like, we're running out of days in November, so I think that realistically, it would be good to see him back out there after they have a few days of practice in December, the first week of December. But I don't think Kawhi is going to be looking like a star at any point in 2024. and that's something that I wrote about Monday morning going into this week. He's got to practice, and he's got to be 100%. That's what the team has said. I don't think 100% exists for Kawhi Leonard at this stage of his career, and the amount of issues that he's had to go through. So something's got to give. Like either he's going to be out there at less than 100%, or he's just not. We're not going to see him. And so I don't know where the confluence is. I don't know where meeting in the middle is, but I think that at right now, middle of November, I feel like he's still multiple weeks away from getting back on the floor.
Yeah, now, of course, the Western Conference is extremely competitive. 10 different teams are above 500 as of right now. The Clippers, despite a pretty solid start, are just the 9th seed. Even if Los Angeles does end up making the playoffs, do you think this is a team that could realistically contend for the Larry O'Brien trophy?
Nah, and I don't want to say the organization understands that because that's not for them to say. I think every player, every coach, they're trying to maximize and do the most that they can until someone ends their season. And so, but this isn't. I think everyone can understand that this roster, this situation, isn't what it was the previous 5 years, or at least most of the previous 5 years, where they had Kawhi Leonard and Paul George closer to the prime of their careers, and you had a real thought that if you could get those guys to go into the playoffs together with the right coach, with the right group of guys around them, that they could realistically win a championship. Like they built teams like that. They haven't had the luck to have those guys complete playoff series with in the right situations. Um, that's not the case this year. Like Paul's not there, James is older, Kawhi is injured, and so this is a team in transition, not necessarily a team trying to contend. I think the bar for this team is to just simply continue their streak of winning seasons. They have the longest active streak of consecutive winning seasons right now, and to give themselves a chance to be in the playoffs. I think when you get playoff games, then you see what happens from there. First, you got to make the playoffs, and you got to win games in the West to make the playoffs. I think that's where their focus is right now, and that's where their focus should be on right now.
Yeah, and obviously tonight the Clippers will face off on the road against the Houston Rockets at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I know you're getting ready for that game right now. The Rockets are currently fifth in the West at 7-4. What are the keys to victory for Los Angeles in this matchup?
The keys for them in every game will be to take care of basketball. I mean, they're just so bad at taking care of the ball that if they can fix that at some point and be consistent about taking care of the basketball, not turning it over at the worst times and the worst situations, they're going to give themselves a real chance to win with how they defend in general and the talent that they do have and the way that they do play. Specific to the Rockets, a big key is going to be, I mean, the Rockets are a terrible shooting team. They're one of the worst shooting teams in the league. But why do they have a winning record? Because they defend and because they are really good at the possession game. And the possession game for me and for the way a lot of teams evaluate is how well do you take care of the basketball and how well do you rebound? Well, the Rockets are a team that is one of the very best in the league at offensive rebounding. They lead the league in offensive rebounds total, and I believe they're if they're not the best, they're close to the best at offensive rebound percentage. So the Clippers have been great on the defensive glass this year, which is surprising. They don't have a whole lot of guys who you look at and as great rebounders individually, but as a team, they've been outstanding. They've been elite. That's a big key for them. Like not just to get stops, to force missed shots, but to end the possession the first time around and prevent second chance opportunities. So that's going to be a clash. Something's got to give there. If the Rockets are this team that is great on the offensive glass and you got a team in the Clippers great on defensive glass, that's why you watch these games to see when it's strength versus strength, who winds up being stronger, who winds up overcoming. So that's what I'll be looking at. It's really the position game. I'm not even looking at makes and misses. I'm going to be looking at who gets rebounds and who takes care of the basketball the best.
Yeah, now, of course, this is the Clippers' first ever season at their new arena, Intuit Dome. This means they no longer share an arena with the Los Angeles Lakers. What would you say has been your favorite part of the new stadium?
Man, my favorite part, honestly, is seeing everyone else come in there. I
Mhm.
think arenas are a part of a city's identity. Like they are something that people are happy to when they're free time, when they want to enjoy themselves, they want to go and they want to visit, they want to see it. It might be a place that they go to multiple times a week or multiple times a month, a season. And then there's people who they don't know, when they'll go back there again. They don't get it. They don't know when they'll get a chance to visit a place like that. And so this is the first time that I'm getting to experience a new arena that I'm going to be at on a regular basis and get to see other people, fans or whatever, get to see that. And that's the case for teams as well. Like these are NBA players, NBA coaches. They're trying to visit this place and play a game there, coach a game there, prepare to deal with the crowd that is there, the wall, for the first time as well. And it's been cool getting their reactions. It's been cool to understand what they have to consider because basketball is not like football where you go to a football stadium and you gotta decide like how the wind is blowing and what the turf is like, all those factors, right? If the roof is closed or something like that. Basketball doesn't have the same kind of variables, but you're seeing and feeling those rare variables come out in a building like Into a Dome. So I've tried to enjoy it for that.
And I know that you mentioned the wall there. I feel like that's a way that they take home court advantage and really elevate it to a new level, as they said also in their advertisement video that they made about it. Now, I do have one final question to ask. If there was one piece of advice you could give to an aspiring sports broadcaster and journalist like me, what would it be?
My goal, well, if I were in your spot, I think the goal should just be to enjoy what you do and show that you're prepared. Like clearly, you were prepared to talk to me. That was really cool. I think that that makes a real difference when you are talking to people who are both actively participating in games, but as well as anybody who you wind up interviewing or engaging with. If you show that you took that extra step to kind of know who they are, what they've done, I think that will kind of reciprocate back to you. When it comes to the industry's hard, but just treat everybody like you would want them to treat you. I think that's a big thing that regardless of what you're going to do in life or for a career, like that is something that is going to reflect upon how you go about things. Like you never know who you're going to interact with, but it shouldn't be oh, he might be my boss one day or something like that. Like you might be someone else's boss too. You know, you might be in a spot where you're assigning someone out to do something, and you just want to be someone that people want to work with, that people want to be around, but not in a way that is fake. Like in a way that is, if that's just who you are, and you're not doing that just to be transactional, I think that's going to reflect well on whatever you do. So it's partly what you know, it's partly who you know, but most importantly, if you are prioritizing the people that you want to be around and cover and respectful to anybody, regardless of whether they're in your area of coverage or not, that will go a long way.
Yeah, absolutely. With that being said, I can't thank you enough for coming on. I really do appreciate it. Is there anything else you want to say to the people watching before we wrap things up?
I would just say if y'all watching games, enjoy the games, and I just thank you for reaching out and giving me an opportunity to be on your show. So thank you.
Mhm. And real quick before we wrap things up, how can the people watching find some of your work?
Well, I'm at the Athletic, so shout out to all the good people at the Athletic, the writers, the editors, and everybody who helps make our outlet work. And I'm on social media at Law Murray DNU, and um, there's a lot going on with social media, but I'm on it. So I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram. A lot of people are joining Threads or Blue Sky. I'm on that too. So if there's a social media platform, I'm probably on it. But more than anything that people put on social media, I write. So if you're familiar with the Athletic, if you're not familiar with the Athletic, I'm at the Athletic. I actually write. Um, I try to make sure that what I write is more important than what I post on social media. So that's how you can follow me.
Yeah, again, big thanks to Law Murray for being the 21st ever Highlight Haven interview guest. And as always, we will see you next time.